Hey, what's up? I got comic reviews to do. Missed last week's, went out of town to visit some family, and I got back and I picked up books. Got 7 of them to shoot off, 1 DC, 6 Marvel, so without further ado, let's get this kicked off with Jeff Johns and Jim Lee on Justice League number 3. This is continuing the story we just got through with the fight in between Batman and Green Lantern against Superman. Now we're focusing in a little bit on Wonder Woman and her introduction into the story. Now I've never really read a lot of Wonder Woman per se, but Jeff kind of goes and he brings it back to perhaps what was an aspect of the old Wonder Woman, which was, you know, kind of her naivete is so refreshing in the world. And there's a nice little scene depicting her and a little girl talking about ice cream, which is kind of good. It's a very small moment, and then we pick back up into a lot of the Parademon Palooza, as I call it. Got a nice big old spread of all the heroes taking on some parademons. And meanwhile, while all that's going on, Wonder Woman joins the fray. Cyborg suffers a terrible accident at the hands of what they discover to actually be a boom tube. And then all hell's about to break loose because we get a very interesting glimpse at Darkseid. You can kind of see him paralleled up there while Cyborg is getting fitted with some new technology following his accident. All this is coalescing into an interesting cliffhanger off into the next instance, and we get a new character brought into the fray. Looks like this is going to be really good. Wasn't really sold on this book with the first issue, but second issue kind of kicked it up pretty good. And Jeff, I think, finally has got a handle on the story now that we're introducing a little more characters in here. I like all his writing on these characters. Hal Jordan leaves a little something to be desired with me, but all in all, still a pretty solid read. Next up, we have Ultimate X-Men number 3, written by Nick Spencer. This is continuing the problem of all the stuff about from Ultimatum when the government came out and say, hey, the mutants that everybody thought that was an act of God, like Magneto kept proclaiming, was in fact quite the opposite. Now a lot of backlash in the public is starting to come out against mutants and against somewhat of the government in general when they find out the truth behind all this. Some really cool character moments ain't really that much, and in fact this was I swear this was like a 2-minute read for me, which is the way I get with most of these Ultimate stories. But, you know, the writing still satisfies me, gives me exactly what I want. A lot of things are a little more downplayed in here. The Human Torch in this is especially a hoot to read about. And then William Stryker has a little agenda that he sets off at the end of this book, proclaiming an attack on, let's just say he's getting ready to take the country back, and he's got him and a bunch of his purifiers ready to get down to business. Pretty good issue. Incredible Hulk number 2 by Jason Aaron. Hulk is fighting some gamma-powered sharks. He gets hooked up with Amanda Von Doom, I believe her name is. We finally get down to business with her filling him in on what Bruce has been up to all this time, and Bruce has a point of view in here explaining his the backstory about why he, you know, absolutely needs to get the Hulk. It's like a part of him is missing, and some of the measures that he's about to go through in order to lure the Hulk back to him are pretty crazy. The cover depicts the Hulk fighting some gamma-powered sharks. This does take place in here, and it looks cool to see. Unfortunately, it doesn't go long. It doesn't go on as long as I wanted it to, but it's still a pretty solid read. Mark Silvestri's art still spectacular. Jason Aaron's writing, you know, it's an alright impression. Wasn't as good as the first impression that I had with the first issue, but it's still pretty good, and I want to see where this goes. X Factor number 227, written by Peter David. I'm not going to spoil this issue that much. Let's just say it's fun. It's good. Peter David always leaves off with the cliffhangers. I did hear a complaint that the story was a little lackluster into the end to somebody, but, you know, I'm still enjoying this regardless. Pete's managing to entertain me, but I think he has a little competition now in the X-Books, which I will get to with my pick of the week shortly. But, you know, this is really good, and I do say pick it up. While I was at the store, this is not on my pull list, but I finally did read the first trade of Rick Remender's Venom. Did not read Amazing Spider-Man, Spider Island, or any of that, and this is kind of an aftermath issue. And I figured it was a good jumping on point. So, if I had to make a pick from last week, let it be Venom number 9. First thing about this cover, it's just like sick. Absolutely sick. I love it. I want to know who I can write to about having a t-shirt made with this on it because it looks so freaking cool. The cover transcends pretty well the line that Flash is straddling in between him having a control over the symbiote and eventually losing his edge to it. Last issue, which I did not read, but I understand that Flash Thompson lost his father while the Spider Island stuff was going on. And while he's trying to sit there, he hasn't really had much of a chance to grieve. And he's not really having a really good handle on his personal life either. If, you know, Pete and him eventually do come out to each other, that Pete is Spider-Man and Flash Thompson is Venom, there could be a much better relation in between them, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. There's this bad guy who chose to take the opportunity while everybody is still trying to lick their wounds, and he calls himself the Hijacker. He's got like this superpowered tank, and he's going around New York and New Jersey robbing banks as fast as he can. Now, in the course of what happens, unfortunately, there were some casualties there, and he kind of rides them off justifiably, saying, well, it wasn't that much. You know, somebody might chalk it up to a traffic accident, but lo and behold, Venom swings in, and after Flash sees this, he just lets the symbiote take control. Now, what he does to this Joker, I heard Mount Vernon Kid and I heard Blue Goblin just sit there in their reaction to it, and after having read it, I was just like, ooh. This Joker did not hold back in this issue. Fantastic writing by Mr. Remender. I hate that I waited so late to get on the series now, but I will be sticking with this for sure. He's done good on X-Force, and this is certainly no exception. Now, to the two that I picked up that actually came out this week, I wasn't crazy about Fear itself. It kind of lost me after issue 4. But Matt Fraction's writing on the Invincible Iron Man itself is still pretty solid. Part 1 of The Beast in Me, this new story arc that he has, we finally get the Mandarin and Ezekiel Stane making their move against Iron Man after all of the chaos went down with the Serpent War. I've read stories where Mandarin has also not only just outright front attacked Tony Stark, but like psychologically attacked him as well. The end of this issue puts a really unique twist on that aspect. Basically, he's doing everything that he can to take down Tony Stark, and not only just doing that by a large smear campaign, which he will mount against him, but also in just bringing back a lot of villains. We waited a long time to see some villains pop up in here, and we're starting to get that now. Stane and the Mandarin are not the only ones in this issue, and we have a few hints at some other ones that are yet to come. The art in this is good as always. As always, the dialogue does come off as a little too much, and there's some humor to be had in between Tony and Split Lip as they attend an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. But this is really good. Classic Iron Man stuff brought up with a new twist in technology. Pretty solid issue. Mr. Fraction didn't like Fear itself, but you certainly still got your edge when it comes to writing Iron Man. So since Venom was my pick for last week, I got to go with the book that I said I think is going to be new competition as far as a lot of humor goes within X Factor. Wolverine and the X-Men #2, written by Jason Aaron with art by Chris Pachalo. My Tom and Jerry X-Men book, as I called it. Man does a terrific job on Wolverine. This issue has pumped it up a little bit more than what issue 1 had going on, which was quite fine in itself, but he's not holding back in here. Hellfire Club is still continuing to make trouble for the school, and this picks up right after issue 1 left off. Little Kilgore made his courtesy call about how I'm going to fuck up your life to Wolverine, and he certainly lives up to his word. Just, as I said, everything that you can imagine going wrong here is going wrong thanks to this kid. The Hellfire Club, still a little bit annoying to me, but I can live with that because of everything else that's going on in this issue. I can just ignore that little problem. Wow, we got a lot of hilarity that's taking place in here. Iceman steps the hell up in this issue, and we get to see a side of his power that wasn't really known to us before. I kind of got an idea of that from seeing the Iceman from Uncanny X-Force, and apparently now this Iceman here has this ability that the Age of Apocalypse Bobby Drake had. But this is still solid stuff. There's a really hilarious moment that takes place in between Bobby and Kitty, which I enjoyed the hell out of. And there's also a nice little moment in between Brew and Idy, which takes place in here as well. Kind of raised my eyebrows a little bit at a bit of the interest that was taking place in between those two characters, but it was still hilarious. Wolverine really is in over his head, and there's a couple of other enemies from the X-Men's past that do make cameos into this as well. Very interesting ways that they're brought into it. All in all, Wolverine and the X-Men, solid issue. I think if, give this a few more issues for the story, I think it's safe to say that this aspect of Jason Aaron could really give Pete David and X Factor a run for its money in my book. It's not quite X Factor just yet, but it is definitely getting close to it. And that pretty much does it for my comic picks for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed my little ramblings, but leave your rates and feedback, and I appreciate any and all that I hear. So until next time, I'll catch you guys later. Have a good one.